Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So it's time to revisit the latest in the search for Amelia Earhart's plane. I believe this is my third video on the subject, but this one feels different to me than our old friend, the pile of plane-shaped rocks. This is a new expedition due to head back to Nicomaroro Island, not based on just one photo, but a series of very interesting satellite images and other evidence all put together that I found very compelling. So I'm going to share with you guys the highlights of everything that I know about this expedition thus far, including its evidence, and you guys tell me. Does this seem like a real shot at finally finding Amelia Earhart's long-lost plane, or is this just another pile of rocks? Okay, so since this is my third video on Earhart, I'm not going to go into her whole backstory, mostly because I think most of you know her story. But if you don't, feel free to look at my two previous videos on this subject. There are links in the description. But the one-sentence recap is that Amelia Earhart was a groundbreaking aviatrix in the 1930s who disappeared on July 2nd, 1937, while attempting to become the first female pilot to circle the world. She and her navigator, Fred Noonan, disappeared in their Lockheed Electra in the last leg of her journey while heading to Howland Island in the South Pacific. Her disappearance has probably been one of the, if not the biggest unsolved mystery in the modern era, and unsurprisingly, there have been a million expeditions trying to find her. And of course, Fred, and naturally, the plane, including our friend Tony Romeo of Deep Sea Vision, who really thought he had it last year with this sonar image, but as we all know now, it was rocks. But a new research team from Purdue University and the Archaeological Legacy Institute will embark on a new expedition next month, November of 2025, to confirm an object that they believe will finally put an end to the mystery. So, as I mentioned in my intro, they're headed back to Nicomaroro Island, which is long thought to be a possible location for Earhart's plane. These researchers are going to investigate a visual anomaly that they believe is the long-lost Lockheed Electra 10E. Kelly Hiller, Chief Marketing Officer at Purdue University, said she is hopeful that this trip will finally be able to solve one of aviation's greatest mysteries. So this so-called visual anomaly has been dubbed the Taraia Object, and it was originally spotted via a satellite image back in 2020 in a lagoon in Nicomaroro. Nicomaroro, which is about halfway between Australia and Hawaii, is also about 400 miles southeast of Howland Island, which was originally Earhart and Noonan's planned destination. The Nicomaroro theory suggests that instead of crashing in the Pacific Ocean, Earhart and Noonan, realizing they were much further south of Howland Island than they planned, were able to land on an uninhabited island where they were marooned. And upon further investigation, researchers realized that this Taraia object had not just popped up in this one satellite image. Hiller explained that over the years, several groups had reached out to Purdue claiming that they had evidence of where the plane was located, and to this point, we had not viewed the evidence as substantial. But that all changed with the discovery of the Taraia object and the realization that we've actually been seeing this object over many years. And one of the first things that the researchers did was seek out other satellite images taken of this exact spot over the years. They now have 26 satellite images dated from 2009 to 2022, and they all pretty much show the same thing. Now, in 2015, the object really starts to become visible after a tropical cyclone passed over the area. In 2021, it started to become harder to see due to sediment settling in the area. But according to Richard Pettigrew, the executive director of the Archaeological Legacy Institute and a member of the expedition team, he believes this object that we are seeing is the Electra split apart into several sections. Part A represents the fuselage. Part B is the wreckage from the tail, and Part C is the remnant of the starboard wing. And the Archaeological Legacy Institute also had drone footage taken about 500 meters away from the area in 2017, which also appears to show this anomaly yet again. And what's even wilder is they may have photographic proof of the Taraia object going all the way back to 1938. the year after Amelia disappeared. A survey team landed on the island, then known as Gardner Island, and took several photographs both by land and by air. And in this photograph, Pettigrew says you can still see the object, and to him, it demonstrates a reflective quality, as if the object were made of metal. Pettigrew says the object was not likely spotted earlier by the naked eye because the object, if it is underwater, the visibility in that water is less than a foot. He also notes the position and orientation of the object does not seem to have hugely changed, despite the decades and multiple storm events. Now, a plane apparently did fly over Nicomororo from the USS Colorado about a week after Earhart's disappearance. The crew of the flight did report signs of habitation, but for whatever reason, they did not choose to land a search party there, which is just like there's a big sliding doors moment there for me. Like, aren't we search partying all areas that show signs of habitation when the most famous aviatrix in the world goes missing? No, we're not doing that. Okay. But they've got more than just these images. As I believe I covered in my previous video, pieces of metal, possibly from an Electra, have been found on Nicomororo over the years. Other archaeological fragments have also been found on the island, including a jackknife made in the US, a zipper that's supposedly from the 1930s, and even glass from a woman's compact. Also in the 1940s, human remains were found on the island, with a skull that is said to be of someone with Northern European ancestry, which Earhart was. Richard Pettigrew believes this evidence collected by the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery establishes an extremely persuasive, multifaceted case that the final destination for Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan was on Nicomororo. Kelly Hiller from Purdue said that the primary goal of the expedition is to confirm either positive or negative identification that this is the plane. From there, she stated a follow-up expedition would be conducted to extract the plane and ultimately return the aircraft back to Purdue University. Earhart actually worked for 2 years at Purdue University as a women's career counselor and also an advisor in the aeronautics department. Additionally, the Purdue Research Foundation actually funded her trip and purchased the Lockheed Electra. And according to the university, if Earhart had completed her trip, the plan was always going to be that the plane would be returned back to the university for further scientific research. So the expedition's plan right now is that 3 people from Purdue will join a team of about 15 people to confirm whether or not this object really is her plane. It will take 6 days to arrive in the Marshall Islands, and then the group will take 2 boats for a 1,200-mile journey to Nicomororo, which really just reminds us all how enormous the Pacific Ocean is and how getting out to these islands is an enormous undertaking. Pettigrew added, "It is a very complex project, so we only have 5 days to work on the island, so we have to really work diligently and get everything done." The team will be made up of archaeologists, astronauts, people who have been to the island, representatives from Kiribati, the country that the island belongs to, and a medic. The crews will also have a Starlink on board and on the island. But Pettigrew emphasized, we're going to be on our own. We're not going to be able to go to the hardware store and get some spare parts. Purdue says that starting November 3rd, 2025, they will be posting daily video updates of the expedition's progress. So yeah, that's the update and the new expedition. What do you guys think? More convincing than rocks? Still not buying it? I guess the one thing about this theory that kind of gives me a weird comfort that doesn't really make a lot of sense is that she didn't crash. She managed to fly 35,000 miles of her 46,000-mile journey, somehow got a bit off course. I'm not throwing any shade at her navigator, Fred. We'll probably never really know how they ended up south of Howland, but she was able to find an island and land the plane. And it's theorized that they tried to send radio messages for as long as they could, but nobody came. Or maybe we did fly overhead, but we just never came back. Like, oh, it's so frustrating. But I don't know, for some reason, even though arguably it's a worse fate, I find some comfort in the fact that she was able to land the plane as opposed to just running out of fuel and crashing into the Pacific Ocean, sinking to the bottom, never to be found. Though being marooned on an island to starve to death is not better, so I don't know. feel like I have to explore my feelings about this. But anyway, that's my weird initial take. But let me know what you guys think. Is this what you figured happened, or did you always think that she probably crashed into the ocean? Also, is this the plane? Be patient, Marion. Like, I'm feeling very Mulder right now. Like, I want to believe, but remember the rocks, pile of rocks, pile of rocks. It's definitely a pile of rocks. So of course, I will be following the story closely and keep you updated on what happens. Okay, well, thank you for catching up on the latest with Amelia with me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm like, is it her plane? Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next video.